Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming. We're two guys who are qualified to talk about anything besides talk about games with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And on this episode, we are fulfilling requests that we have received both online and in person to circle back and talk more about Conquest.
And to be fair, we did say we were going to do this, and then went on an impromptu break.
Yeah.
So this is sort of our fault.
We are paying an old debt that we are going to act like is a new debt. To talk about Conquest, because for some reason people want to hear us talk about this game. And I don't quite fully understand why, but that's fine. We give the people what they want. So we are going to follow up on some episodes that we did a little while back that did pretty well for us, and that we were really excited for. In which Parabellum announced last year that they were going to be doing changes to both Wadroon and Nords, in overhauling both of those factions to try to fix some issues that they had sort of systemically in the old versions of the armies. And when they put those out, we did a breakdown video for both factions, doing a faction focus, talking about, here are the changes, here are our initial thoughts, here are our initial impressions, based off of some test games and reading through the list. However, we said that we'd follow up later to, after we'd played a fair amount, to break down what we think about them. And, well, we've played a fair amount of both. And it's time to pay the piper and circle back. And we're going to start with Wadroon today to talk about what we think about the Wadroon updates, how we think they've landed, the good, the bad, the confusing, the whole 9 yards. Because I'm going to be honest, I see a lot of Wadroon. I don't play Wadroon, but I can't seem to escape it. It's everywhere. John plays Wadroon constantly, so it is very common there. Locally, another player, Dylan, who I joyously get to play super often, plays Wadroon. Used to it there. Went to my first Conquest tournament a couple weeks ago. First matchup, I get out the car. John looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, "You're playing the best Wadroon player in the U.S. He's playing Wadroon." Okay. So, even when I go to an event where that's really broad and I'm trying to not maybe play Wadroon, I'm still get played against Wadroon. So, I've got some bona fides. I would say I have played against new Wadroon alone. Somewhere between 10 and 15 games now.
You've done more than that.
That's true.
You've done more than
Some
that
of
with
them
just
blend
me.
in game weekends. It might be towing 20 now after the tournament prep.
Yeah, you've played quite a bit against Wadroon. And
I mean new Wadroon only. I played a lot of old Wadroon. New Wadroon only, I think it's probably between 10 and 20.
Yeah, you've played more than 15. We've played a lot, and then you've also played some other folks. And, on my end, I took Wadroon to 2 different tournaments and did okay at one of them, did poorly at the other. But more importantly is that, I've talked to a lot of people who play this, play Wadroon, and I've gotten their thoughts, I've gotten their opinions, from different perspectives, right? We are not just going to talk about the competitive viability of
God, no.
So, that is not what we're going to be talking about here, but there is a lot of things to talk about just Wadroon as a faction as a whole. There's a lot of opinions a lot of people have, and I'm going to share some of the ones I agree with and some of the ones I disagree with. But I do want to sort of state from the top, just because we say it on the internet doesn't mean we're right.
God, no, please, question me. Understand, I am not infallible.
And also, for those that might be newer to our viewership, we sometimes talk in big hyperbole. We will speak in hyperbole often. So, just kind of live by the vibes of what we're talking about.
And
but we do have some okay opinions.
I hope they're okay. And we will anchor it as such. But, if you're here looking for, okay, what list do I take to go 3-0 my next event? I'm going to just be real right off the top. I'm not the guy. Okay? There are far better people to go ask that question.
Yep.
I'm not going to give it to you here. However,
But if you're a person who's newer and you've gone, hey, I just want to know how Wadroon kind of work and what's cool or what's not so cool or what could change or like what might change or like thoughts or yada yada yada, we might be able to give you some insight.
a little.
Really, this is like this isn't a tier list. This is just like saying and talking about this faction that we've both spent many hours be either playing or playing against.
Yes. And that whether of our own volition or not, we both do love and have come to love by proximity or choice. So, getting into the rework. So we've played a lot of it. We want to start with the bona fide to show that like we're not just talking out of our ass. We have played it a lot. We've put the reps in. It's why we didn't do a quote-unquote review video when it dropped, because it felt disingenuous to try to act like, oh, I know how this is going to end.
I've read the document 16 times and built 12 lists, I'll have you know. How many games you've played? I played one on TTS. Alright, but like, what else?
Yes, well, I played 14 games against myself in my mind palace. Okay. My mind palace is mostly empty. So I had to play it physically. And now we've done that. We've done it. By God, we've done it. So how do we feel after the rework? And I think we should probably just kind of take them in groups. But like, because I think the one that's biggest, right? Like the biggest change that they did from a wide perspective is the chant mechanic, right? Like it was totally cut out and remade whole cloth. That's entirely brand new. So I think we should start there, because really it's the biggest swing that they took at Wadroon.
Yeah, and I also think that like a lot of our opinions when it first dropped were different than our opinions are ended up being after playing a lot of it. And we're going to get into a lot of that later, because I really want to focus on the one thing about Chance they did the best and what is the best part of the new
Because
Chance.
I do think there's one thing that was like the biggest hurdle to this faction as a whole, and this addresses it.
And it's when it is just count to 3. Like it is just I put marker on table, I get marker. Once I get to 3, I then spend markers on a buff. Now there is a lot more nuance in there about different ways you can utilize that and do things, but it is a lot less punishing. So when you get to 3 markers, you can choose to use the buff or not.
Yes.
Which means if you're a new player, you are not constantly having to like ride the lightning of like perfect sequencing while also learning a fairly complicated game. This is great for new people. There's stuff to be said about higher end play we'll talk about later, but for new people playing the faction, and Wadroon is a faction that new people gravitate towards, because hell yeah,
because it's so cool. It's so cool. It's like muscle orcs on dinosaurs. It grabs your eye immediately.
That is like paramount that be something that is at least approachable. This is. And that is great and a good thing.
I feel kind of like the old way we built the game was kind of like we put a decoy out at the end of an alley, like we honeypotted new players of like, ooh, that's a pretty thing over there, I want to learn to play. And then they come over, and then the old chant system would jump out and go, get them! And we jump them and take their lunch money. It was not good. It was a rough onboard experience.
The ongoing joke used to be, yeah, they're orcs riding dinosaurs, but they play like elves.
Oh my God, they do play like elves. They played like galaxy brain elves. Sorry, buddy. You made one mistake in your stack. Well, you lost the entire turn. Or did one unit die unfortunately and get pulled a card from your stack? Oh, your sequence is off. You've lost the whole turn. Like,
and I'm not saying that like that's necessarily not the case anymore, but I'm saying it's definitely not entirely true. Like it is much closer to sort of the envisioned sort of rah dinosaur chant WWE suplex someone sort of like thing you read about whenever you see it. Which I think is good. Like on a core base level, it feels much more bruisery. They don't really take a punch well, but like they do give a punch really well. They're really fast, they're really mobile, they do a bunch of like cool stuff, but it isn't sort of like it was difficult to play a mobile sort of glass cannon faction while also having to like perfectly orchestrate this chant system. And now you can make a little bit of mistakes in the chant system when you're learning the faction and not feel like you were just getting hammered in every.
Oh, because no one runs over and like forcibly drops the mag from your gun while you're trying to sight up. Like that was really the big issue. Is you'd be like, all right, I've got my shot lined up and oh, it's empty. Oh shit. What do I do?
Oops.
Or sorry, fired early. Oh no. A dishonorable discharge, if you will. God, that came in.
And one of the things in old Wadroon that was an issue, right, is like if you were a person who's played like 40 games with Wadroon, you're like, oh yeah, but it makes total sense now. I've played 40 games. But like for some people, they if their first 5 games of a faction suck, they don't want to play that anymore. They're done. They're going to go sell that army on Facebook Marketplace and either start a new force or quit the game. And that's not great for any faction. And I think that this fixes that issue almost in its entirety for new players.
Yep. Yeah. And for me, like, I think my thoughts are a little more positive because just because of the way as a person I weight game issues, like there are a lot of interactions in the new chants that need work, right? Or need looked at, and that's fair. That's fine. We're going to talk about some of them because I've hit some of them myself. But at the core, when I look at this, I ask myself, okay, the new chant system, do we need to overhaul this to try again? And my answer overwhelmingly internally is no. Like we're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark. We haven't found our seat necessarily, but we're in the right ballpark. We just got to go find the right level, get down, and, sit down. But we're close. I think this is a really good way of going, hey, this system, it looks hard, but it's not that complicated. You're going to have to think quite a bit to learn it when you're starting. The order in which you build up your chants matters. How you build up your conquest tokens, if you do that versus other chant types, matters. However, it's going to go off when you want it to. You got to build it, but it's going to go off when you choose, and I think that's a great way to sort of shoot the gap. So I think truly for me, I'm calling this a big win because we could keep this system, and with just some refining over time, some additions, some changes, some removals, what have you, I really do think this could be a long-term sort of system for the chant mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a great foundation we have entered into. So, like, truly, hats off, well done. Big fan.
Mm-hmm. Next thing is dinosaurs are cool.
Yes! They're so cool! Dinosaurs are so back!
So, like, the biggest thing that happened in Wadroon with the rework is that it got introduced to the Winglord Predator and the Caudal, which provided something to the dinosaur list, also known as a speakers list, that it was missing, which was a medium scoring dinosaur. That is, what's good here is that it is fast and it is great. It can move around a lot. It provides what that list sort of needs in a lot of ways. It's really good. Dinosaurs are also generally pretty good. I wouldn't call them broken. I'd call them pretty good. And I think that's really exactly what not just Wadroon, but the game needs, right? Is solid lists that are really fun to play at all levels of play. And I think that the archetype within Wadroon of speakers is a thing you can take to a tournament and do pretty well at if you are practiced and you've learned how to like play against a bunch of like that sort of level of play and you've done a lot of stuff into. It is also a list you can sort of scale down if you have a list that runs here and is hyper efficient. You can take a couple things out, introduce a couple of fun bits, and play at like a mid-range level with like your buddies and like maybe like a narrative league, right? Or if you're a new player, there's a way for you to start and it's super fun and you could do it through an escalation league pretty easily. I think this faction as a whole is a good representation of a sub-faction within a faction that you can play through all modes and levels of play, and it's fun.
Yep.
And is a good example for what we want out of Conquest, at least in my opinion, for everyone, right? We want to have players who do escalation leagues and just like play with their buddies at the shop. We got people who want to do narrative stuff that are like fun, and we also want people who like we want to have options for people who are playing competitive. This does all of that. That's great. You can then for me, it is that this list is a pretty good split of Timmy, Johnny, and Spike energy.
Yes.
It's a challenge to play.
So Spike's going to get something. You're going to have to prove you got some skill to pilot it at a top table.
Johnny is going to enjoy it because your little caveat is I can only bring dinosaurs,
and also
or dinosaur adjacent things.
If I mess up if I don't use my chance in the right way, I'm in trouble. If I if I have a movement misplay or I put something in the wrong place, I'm in trouble. So you've got to spin some plates. Johnny loves it.
And then the third one, Timmy's, love it because it's dinosaurs.
Oh, hell yeah.
Your dinosaurs are going to do cool stuff throughout all of this. And I had some opinions about speakers previously that it might have been too good, yada, yada, yada. I was kind of wrong. Thunder Riders are good, but they're not super, super broken, right? Thunder Riders are great on planet bowling ball with no terrain, in a vacuum. But the second that your opponent has stuff that they can leverage against your Thunder Riders, they get limited, right? Your opponent can corral them into certain parts of the board because you want impacts.
Yes. The first time I played against John's Thunder Riders, the game gave me the vibe of the scene from The Mummy, of John just haha, I got my turbo unit of Thunder Riders. And then my unit of Bochosen ran into a forest and just hugged the trees. And looked out and just, well, you're on the wrong side of the river! As the Thunder Riders could not get impacts or come in to save their freaking life. Because they knew damn well, oh, shit, if we go in there, a lot of our stuff turns off. So there was more counterplay to them than expected. And I could see John's face across the table from me, look up and go, okay.
And I think it's a good thing because it is a good evidence of friction, right? It's really easy to look at the Thunder Riders unit and go, yeah, but forests stop them. So we need to give them a tool that makes forests not stop them.
Don't do that.
No.
Terrible. No,
that's perfectly okay. They don't hit that hard in non-impacts. They their normal clash isn't that good. We have to give them Cleave 2 and 6 attacks.
We really shouldn't.
And Flurry. No, they shouldn't. They should not do that. But they're not as tough as some other heavy cavalry because they're only defense 3 and have 0 evasion. Okay.
But they have Juggernaut.
But also, they're super consistent. They are consistent.
They're
very consistent. They're a great pressure piece. They do lots of pressure. They're a perfectly fine unit how they are. They probably don't need to get touched on. If anything, it's probably points.
Yes.
It's probably just some points.
I think that will happen forever.
Most,
we can tinker with some points here, okay? But it's fine. It has a job. It has a counter. That's perfect. Great job. Well done.
Yep. Now, I won't say that everything in the Woodrune list is entirely internally balanced. There's some stuff that's not, and we'll talk about that more later. But I think one of the things that makes all of what we're about to go over, both the pros and the cons, sort of come out in a different light is that we recently found out there is more Woodrune coming.
Yeah.
So not only did we get a rework, but we are also getting more models, and fairly soon. Not an exact date yet, but we do know that the rest of the Cults sub-faction is coming out. So a lot of current ability to play with the Scion of Conquest, which is pretty good, and Chosen of Conquest, which are pretty good, and Chosen of Death, who are just hard to fit in lists, is going to
But
change.
I think the unit themselves are quite cool. Because I think, I've talked about this before. I think people are kind of sleeping on it. I've heard people talk about, using terrain. I don't know how we get things out of the terrain. What goes in there and clears out the forest? I'll tell you what goes in there and clears out a forest real good. Chosen of Death, which run in there and they don't care at all, and Blender, my Beyblade, my Bochosen, out of there.
Yes.
Granted, again, getting them in a list is a little hard, but I think there's gas in the Chosen of Death tank.
I think there's gas in a Cults list in general. Once we get the 2 new characters in unit we're going to be getting in the Chosen of Death, Chosen of War, and
Famine.
Scion of Death, Scion of War, and Chosen of War. We're getting the Chosen of War unit, which is probably Brutes, and then we are getting a named guy sculpt and a normal sculpt of the Chosen of War, and then we're going to get Scion of War. God. And then Scion of Death. which is going to be great. I also think that's going to inject a lot of general list diversity in.
Yeah. Because currently it feels like there's really kind of like two ways to play Wadroon. You either play like the I flood the board and dudes strategy, or you play the I love Jurassic Park list.
Yeah.
One of these is way cooler and has the song playing in my head. But I think depending on how these releases go, obviously, no crystal ball, I think that could open a third list style that hopefully is similar, that it will be cool, and you can flex with it and play it well, not broken, the whole 9 yards. And if you could open up a third whole play style, that would be really great.
I actually think they're going to open up more than three, more than another third. I think that, and this is currently my con with Witcher, like my first con with Witcher, is really there's two ways you play. You either play tribes or you play speakers.
Yes.
So it's infantry focused or it's dinosaurs. Doing a mixed both list is possible, but it's almost like, why am I not going into one or the other? Like, no matter what, if you're bringing like tribes, you're probably still going to bring some dinosaurs, and if you're running dinosaurs, there's a reason to bring some infantry, but not like a true 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And I think that with the injection of more cult units, you're going to see a lot more and divergent lists. You're going to see a lot less repeat units because you can create warbands that do unique things with the Scions, with the Chosen. They become toolkits. And I think, like, currently, really, all of Wadroon plays like pressure. Let's just, what kind of pressure do you want to play? I think cults will maybe provide the ability to play toolkit Wadroon, which is a fun concept. And we will see if I am right or I am wrong.
I hope you're right.
I do too. I think having multiple like avenues and archetypes to play in a faction is good. And I think that will eventually be the case.
Yeah.
And clearly, Parabellum agrees. They have tried with many factions and have been working on it. It's just they're a small team. Like,
give it time.
They can only release so much at a time.
They need sleep at some point. Yeah, I think currently Wadroon, that is one of my cons. It's pressure, pressure, pressure. And like, I've played against both of those lists a lot.
Yeah.
Both do it a little differently, but both are just trying to sprint down your throat by turn 2 or turn 3.
Yeah.
It's very, very samey. And honestly, it is. When I played that tournament a couple weeks ago, even going against Jeff, who's just an incredible player, running what he said, and I quote, is the most degenerate list that the best player in the U.S. could make. I was able to get a win because I knew exactly what he was going to do. Because this list only plays one way. It's not like he's going to throw me a wheeled wild card and not drown me in lights turn 1. No, it's going to do exactly that.
Yeah.
And I know how this is going to play out, so let's try to counterplay against him. But what I would really like to see is for Toolbox Withdrew to instead look at their list, and instead of looking at every single unit and going, could I insert this in someone's mid cavity by turn 2? To look at it and go, okay, is unit X an answer to a potential threat I might see on a table at some point? And if so, do I want to have it in my back pocket on the table in case I come across that threat? And then maybe you get a Wadroon list that has like a warband that's good at getting up close, another warband that's maybe good at countering ranged threat, another warband that's kind of techy and monstery and can do some impacts or what have you. And then when you roll up to the table, regardless of what you're going to go into, you have a little bit of everything to respond. I think that would be a very cool way to play Wadroon, especially with the Chants being able to let you accentuate your response pieces to make them punch up a little higher if you really need to. I think that would be a cool design space to drive towards. But we ain't.
Yeah, and I think
currently.
that's my second con, like the second in the bad column. Not bad, but like unfortunate column. And that is the faction is exceptionally lights focused, right? Like you are wanting to bring and are constantly incentivized to bring hunting pack and slingers. And sometimes draft riders, but mostly hunting pack and slingers, right? You want to bring really fragile, light tiny little dinosaurs that are going to rip your opponent to shreds and live inside of their objective zone. And you're going to also want to zone out portions of the board with slingers, right? And shoot people off the table with very safe, effective shooting.
With a good range.
That is high volume of shots. With great range. Like 18-inch range in this game is really good. Being able to put yourself in effective range with Chants with slingers is really good. Hunting Pack having such a large threat
really good
zone, also really good. Because if you just let Hunting Pack get into your flank, you're going to lose stuff. A lot of stuff. If you ignore them, they're going to hurt you. If you ignore the slingers, they're going to hurt you. If you try to go up on objectives, if you can even get to them, you're going to get shot. So it's exceptional pressure, and it is the game as a whole has sort of become very fast, and this army is pushing that even harder. It's just making the game super fast, especially with the Chieftain supremacy, which gives all of your tribes units Vanguard 3. So slingers getting to move on so far up the table early can basically put your opponent in immediate threat. Turn 1, going to turn 2. It's quite good. It's really, really, really powerful. And that sounds really good, except for it means the internal balance is off on the game, right? Like previously in the faction focus, I talked about how it's weird that Wadroon don't have light scoring, and I was wrong, right? Like if Wadroon had light scoring, they would be extremely impressive. Because right now, what they have is scoring denial. They are putting stuff in the opponent's face so early that your opponent can't score. They can't get anything. And so you are scoring by proxy because you are preventing your opponent from scoring. And then you have fast mediums to go in behind them and get points. So you're getting points before your opponent can, regardless if they have the tools to score early or not, often. And that's tough. And what makes that even worse is if you're in a competitive environment, right, you can expect that, you can sort of build lists around that. But if you're just playing with your buddies and someone really wants to play Dinosaurs and they show up at the table and they bring 4 units of Hunting Pack, what do you do as a Sorcerer Kings player with your maybe 1 unit of ghouls?
Not much, unfortunately.
If you are not a person who has played a ton of Sorcerer Kings and knows what your response can be by thinking 4 turns ahead, you're probably just going to have a really hard time and not fully understand why you lost. That's kind of an issue. Or 2 units of slingers are very good. With or without the Predator, they're pretty good. They can shoot stuff right off the table. There's not a lot of responses to that. You can hide in forests, and that helps a little.
But the effective helps a lot.
It does quite a bit. A lot of shots. So that is a thing that is sort of maybe in pointing towards there's some internal balance issues with the general roster. Some units are just much more efficient than other units. Probably too efficient. Probably just too many points. Too few points for what they do. There's some combos that just don't. You're not making a lot of cost, right? And there's also not a lot of opportunity cost in there either that isn't assigned to points. If I will use Hunting Pack and Slingers as the continuous example, you can bring a Predator, Foot Predator, inside a unit of Slingers and Hunting Pack for I think around 360 points. Because the Slingers are 150, Hunting Pack are 120, and the Predator is 100 points, right? So give or take. It's a pretty good point value. That's all probably a little too cheap, but I wouldn't say that they are necessarily turbo broken game ruined. But it's probably a little too cheap. And I think from at least my experience, having gone to tournaments recently and talked to a bunch of people, there's some stuff that maybe this can change a little bit. It's maybe making game too fast.
Yeah, and
I don't know the answers, but I can see that might just be too fast.
Yeah, and I don't think it's purely Wadroon that has this thing. I mean, I think there are a couple of lists that are way too fast. Looking at you,
yes.
Ghost Jail, looking at you, Uber Flank, City States. It's not just Wadroon, but Wadroon are certainly up there shoving the game to be faster.
Yes.
And I think it would be good for long-term health if that sort of changed somewhere.
Yeah. No, I don't have the exact answer because, what do I look like? A guy who writes rules for a living? Nah. I can just say that like a lot of the games I've played with Verdun sort of feel like they're over by turn 4, and that was not my experience previously.
Yeah, we had a lot of games previously that went late into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not now.
I think I still get some of those games that last till late turn, but a lot of the times it's just like I've drowned the board. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Mathematically, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The last con that I'm going to talk about though is chance on units are really good. That's not a bad thing, but it does sort of outshine some of the core chant buffs. A lot of the power got removed from core chants and is being brought over to units, which was a design decision they've chosen, and that's perfectly fine. But for some of them, it feels like it was like too much, right? Like I think famine, great.
Mm-hmm.
+2 charge,
Everyone loves it. It's great.
The cleave 1 in a vacuum, also pretty good. In the current state of things, it's a little weird, right? A little hard to utilize because there's a lot of hardened 1 around. There's also not a lot of there's a lot of evasion around, right? So like, how good is getting cleave 1 as opposed to getting to charge consistently?
I think it depends on your matchup, but it's a good tool to have in the back pocket.
Right, but it's solid like middle, right? So it doesn't really need to shift too much. But death is not very good. Death is really a struggle, and that's part of the reason why Chosen of Death I don't think it's get taken, is in order to bring them, you have to bring a warlord that is under Chosen of Death, and you don't want, like, under the Death Supremacy, and you don't want that. You want Conquest. And because all Death provides is untouchable, and that's a really good buff if you aren't having to set it up immediately before a unit would get hit. And also, when you're comparing it to some of the other stuff, it's very, very, very situational.
Mm-hmm.
I've very rarely ever seen a need to use it, as opposed to the others. The best one is still Conquest, which makes sense. Like, it's the hardest one to get. You have to, like, jump through some hoops, and the additional movement's really good, and the additional evasion's really good, and also the removal of just allowing anything to triple activate is good. I think Chosen of Conquest are a very good unit, but they're not, like, cracked. Super fun, right? I think most of that's okay. It's just all of it's overshadowed by Slinger's Chant, which can go effective shoot from 18 inches away, and that's really good, with the ability to get torrential. So that's just really, really powerful. And triple activation on Chosen of Conquest is a thing you're always going to want to do.
Yeah.
Like, you're always going to want to triple activate. Anything in the game wants to triple activate.
It's so powerful.
3 activations is good. Especially when you get to pick what all those actions are. Like, you're like, I do whatever I want. And layered on top of all of that issue is I have a personal sort of weird, like, order of operations quibble with that. When a unit is on deployment, it doesn't generate a marker, but it can get a buff. So you can do things like triple activating Chosen of Conquest onto the table, but you can't give yourself a marker. And I think that the chant shouldn't work the turn you come on the table. Like, that's my opinion, at least. Because it feels odd that you get to do one, but not the other.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to someone, hey, you don't get the chant because your leader isn't on the board yet. So, when they go to chant, nothing happens. Because they're not on the table. And they'll look at you and go, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then immediately after, yeah, you're not on the table yet, but you can still get that buff. What? But I thought I couldn't. No, well, you can't generate token, but you can get the buff, because you will be on the table at some point during the move. But not at the start?
Like, it feels
no.
weird.
But yes.
And
it's
that
odd.
is the way that is... I didn't think it worked like that at all. And I was told that I was wrong, and that it does work like that. If I am wrong, please, any of you who are much better with rules, point to me in the rulebook what page it says and explain it to me like I'm 5. And I will...
I would love to be able to have this to lead on.
Like, wonderful. I know sometimes I read stuff and my smooth brain has it just fall off of me like water on a rooftop. But, like, it feels weird if that's the way it is supposed to work, because I feel like you should have to be on the table chanting and doing things, not playing this weird sort of splitting hairs about wording to see how it works. But I will end the cons section by saying like these are all mostly small issues, right? Like for the most part, this is all like we're splitting hairs here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like looking for the problems because nothing's perfect. These aren't like directly in your face. Oh my god, this is makes Woodrune terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great place to be in. Now, talking about great places to be in.
Oh.
Now we're going to talk about all the good stuff, and we're going to start with the best part.
We got to go back to it. We got to go back to it. Dinosaurs are back. Oh my god, dinosaurs are back.
We're so back. We're so back.
So
Dinosaurs.
back. Everyone once around us was trying to run dinosaurs before, and it was hard to do. People had to, work really, really hard to get middling outcomes a lot of the time. But with the new update, we talked about it before. I'm just going to reiterate it. Dinosaurs are way back. If you, make a list that's a little clever, you get comfortable with it, you could do surprisingly well with them, which opens up a second playstyle, which is just, it's amazing. For me, it's one of the biggest wins out of all of the changes that were made. I'm a big, big fan. And I think it will continue paying off for a good while to come.
And I think that there's lots of fun things you can do in there that are on like varying degrees of like strength. For instance, I like the mounted predator. I like the ability to give my apex predators and tauntors the ability to ignore hindering. That's fun. Mm-hmm. I like the idea that I now have a T-Rex that can run through the trees and not care.
Yeah. That's awesome. See the earlier example of the Thunder Riders of like, haha, we can't go in the woods. Uh-oh, she can. And now it's a problem.
Yeah. And importantly, they did not allow the Thunder Riders to get that. So I'm happy that that is the case. But I think like we're going to touch on this in basically every point we have to say about Prez. But one of the overall prevailing themes is that the foundation of this faction is really good for many lists and many like archetypes, and they can just add more. Mm-hmm. And that's the important bit. Like the foundation for dinosaurs now are made. You can just run a list that's only dinosaurs or mostly dinosaurs and feel really good about it and do really well at all levels and modes of play. Mm-hmm. The wonderful starting spot. Now when they add more, that's going to like go up and down, yada yada, but like it's starting in a wonderful place. And that's just a good thing. Unabashedly great thing.
I also think for me another big win here is the chance on units, right?
Yes.
I said it when we looked at this, I'm saying it again now. Chance on units is a great idea for a couple of reasons. One, it's really cool. It's cool that the units individually make their own chants that work for them and their style of war, and that only the people in the unit know. It sort of speaks to many cultures inside of this culture, like subcultures in the culture existing, which is reminiscent of some real world warrior culture stuff that happens of like units having their own identities inside of larger military structures, and I think it speaks to the world of the Woodrune really great. Also, it's just cool. It's a way to differentiate units and to make them unique, even more so than just their stats of what they have, and to give you some optionality, and I do think it will end up being part of toolboxes, or making a toolbox subfaction in the long run. And also, I think it is a really clever way to insert an option to buff a unit down the line that might need it without having to touch their stats, right? Because maybe, I don't know, somewhere down the road, 2 years down the road, Unit X is having issues. People are not wanting to take Unit X. They don't really think it has a purpose. They don't really think that it hits well enough. They don't think that it's sturdy. They don't know why they would want Unit X, right? So in that case, you then have a couple of options before this rework. You could make Unit X cheaper. You could buff Unit X stat-wise and change some stat numbers. Or you could try to give Unit X a new special ability, but now it's not really tied into everything else. And could be too much or be too little. So like it's It's pretty standard like it is in many factions. However, now, Unit X, you don't have to necessarily go in and make it way cheaper. You don't have to go in and crank the stats. You could give Unit X a sick chant that does a unique thing that only Unit X would want to do, or maybe Unit X is the only thing that is going to do, that gives Unit X identity to address a particular hole in the faction. From a design standpoint, it's a great lever you could pull on when you need to work with units over time. And I think that this will pay dividends for a whole long time. Like, yeah, Slangers 1 is probably a little too good. Okay, sure, that's fine. But overall, I think having this level of flex is healthy for them to design as a faction, and also makes it really cool as a player when you see these options to use these chants in unique ways. You know, oh,
yes,
I see a chance there to make someone's leadership tank from the Screech chant of, I think it's the Apex Predator the Predator on Apex or what have you. I'm going to do that thing and go in and debuff everyone's leadership and make a big play. In that moment, you're going to feel like a giga-brain strategist because you saw the use of it, even if you haven't used it in the past 4 games.
And I also think that it provides more internal balance for the faction as a whole. Like, if you have, 12 units in total in your army, and 8 of them have chant abilities that could go off, you now have way more choices to be making when you're playing the game. Mm-hmm. And being good at making those choices can feel rewarding and great. And that's exactly what you want from a system, in a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of a skill identifier for seasoned Wadroon players of how well do you use all your potential chant pieces.
Which is a thing that I think a lot of older Wadroon players are missing from a lot of the new stuff, because that was how it used to be with Fnatic and a couple of other things of how can I leverage this in different ways. But it was a little under the surface. You had to kind of look at it differently in order to understand that. And I think they're going to slowly inject more and more of that as they are iterating on these rules in the future. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. It's a wonderful future design decision, is to make it both simpler for newer people and then add continually more rewarding things for veteran, higher skilled players.
Yep.
Which is, love that. Great.
Yeah. Great piece. Truly.
Which brings me to another good point, and I've said it many times, and I'm going to keep saying it. The foundations here are phenomenal. And you can see where a lot of the foundations of design that they have chosen here have ended up in other reworks, like in 100 Kingdoms, which we'll talk about later, and Nords. As an example, I will use Raptor Riders. Raptor Riders, for me as a unit, make way more sense now, and I really love them. Because they have to make a decision, right? In the core rules now, you cannot do more than 3 actions in a activation.
Yep.
You draw a card, you can only do 3 actions. Cannot do more than that, right? So, with Raptor Riders, you get to, when you draw the card, decide, am I going to fluid formation or not? To change my position. Yes, no. Okay. If yes, I cannot use my free shooting action later because I will not have the ability to the open space for it. So, I now have to choose between, do I want to try to position differently to make a play, or do I want to continue down this path and be greedy, or do I want to not do that, right? Or do I want to be safer, right? Mm-hmm. Many choices from the moment I draw the card. Then I do my 2 activations and figure out where my shooting goes. But also, they've done a clever thing. They're a cavalry unit that have no impacts, but they do get free shooting from their shooting attack with fluid, so they can do it from all directions. And so it is selling the narrative that these 3 Raptor Riders are these really fast skirmishing cavalry that sort of yip and run around these units and fight them on all sides in this coordinated team. And it all fits. It's all great. It's wonderful. And it shows the sort of design thought that has been put into this, that they're going to put into more things. That's really good. I really enjoy playing Raptor Riders now, because it fits the exact idea of what I think a Raptor Rider does.
Yeah. What you imagine in your head exactly matches the table.
And also, it doesn't need to have a unique chant on the unit, because it has its own unique ability and the ability to fluid or shoot. Yeah. Right? The Caudal is very similar. The Caudal is just like a giant Raptor Rider in a lot of ways. That does a bunch of cool stuff.
It's a Predator
utility stuff.
It's a Predator road, basically, but yes.
Yeah. but it's cool, right? It does. There's lots of choices and decisions to be made when you're playing that piece that are very rewarding to learning how to play it. That's really good. Like it's like a really good foundation to build from, and I'm glad that it's happening, right? Whereas before, Raptor Riders felt very much like Meat Missile. I throw a Meat Missile, do a thing. And when you compared Raptor Riders to Hunting Pack, they were like, oh, these two units are basically doing the same thing. Which one is more points efficient? Now, I feel like there's actually a difference between Raptor Riders and Hunting Pack. Hunting Pack are more of a threat piece, and Raptor Riders are more utility.
They're more flex.
And exactly. Like, that's great. They are two unique roles now. You want that. And the fact that that is the way that the rules seem to be shifting going forward is a good thing. Like that, it's getting better, right? We started this game, a year and a half ago, give or take?
Yeah, about.
And since then, I've watched almost everything from the Drune range become playable, or at least got some changes to make it interesting, right? They're now doing that for whole factions, identities. That's great. And this is a good example of them doing that. And I just want to call it out that they've made a wonderful foundation here that they're obviously going to just add more models to.
Yeah. As time goes on, it will probably get better.
If you're a person who's getting into Conquest for the first time this year, and you're like, I love dinosaurs, I love Jurassic Park as a kid, I'm going to play only dinosaurs. And then they release a new dinosaur for you to play with every year, you're going to have a great time. And you're going to keep having a great time. Even if they only release a new dinosaur every 2 years. 3 years, you're still going to have a great time. I could see someone playing this faction for just dinosaurs for years and have a great time. I'm going to do that for years and have a great time.
I think that is the biggest compliment I can give it, is that this is not a rework that I think we're going to have to undo in the next year, right? I don't think we're going to look back at this and go, man, wasted effort. No. I think we will refine, but I think it's good. It's just good. And now, that does lead us to the end and the most crucial part of this, is our official KFW rating, all right? Where do we rate it? What's the rating?
I'm going to rate it a solid hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. I think it is indeed a hell yeah, brother. It's not quite hell yeah! And then, I let off fireworks in my room, and I burn down the house. I shoot shotguns into the air, tell the fire marshal, don't tread on me when he shows up to put it out. It's not top tier, lose my mind, but it is certified good. I would even say, it's great.
Solid 5 out of 7. Great
5
movie.
out of 7, perfect film. Yes. I do. I think that's where we're at. It's got some issues. I think we will fix them over time. We'll figure it out as we go. But wonderful place to start, especially when compared to where we were.
Yeah.
Having seen where we were, I can't help but like this even more. And I just think it's hard to ask for too much more off the rip from a small team. So, yeah. For us, that's where we land on Wadroon. But for y'all out there in listener land, what has your new Wadroon rules been like? What has your experience been? Do you agree? Have you burnt down your house? If so, let me know in the comments below. In the latter case, probably from your phone.
And if you think that I'm wrong in every way, shape, or form, or you want to just talk mad shit to me in the comments, feel free. You can just blast it. You can yell at me. You can scream at me. It'd be great. We'll have a wonderful time. For those of you that have met me in real life, you know that I care not a lot. You can just say stuff to me, and I'm like, okay.
Go off, I guess. Yeah, we would
go off, King.
We would love to hear your thoughts, because we are only two guys, and no matter how much we try to get perspectives, we're gonna miss angles and thoughts.
Yep.
Because we just don't have it all, and I would love to be able to get those perspectives, just so we can, try to keep our knowledge base broad. Mm-hmm. And if you enjoy the video, like it. If you want to subscribe, do all the things. We appreciate it. It helps the channel to grow. And if you do know a Wadroon player who's newer, who's struggling, maybe take some of this and help them, get on board. Ask questions here, how to get in, and we'll help them. For now, though, that has been all of our opinions. Bonafide and Kentucky Fried. We'll see you guys on the next one.